This. My name is Abby Frutchey. I am a social worker. I work for the Community Caring Collaborative here in Washington County, and we are one of five partners that really are holds up and are the heartbeat of the Washington County Recovery Friendly Workplace Network. So the Community Caring Collaborative, Sunrise County Economic Council, Aroostook Mental Health Center that specializes in behavioral health, Washington County Community College that provides education, training, and has a robust workforce division, and Healthy Acadia that are our public health partners and provide so many resources around recovery coaching, prevention, and recovery supports. We are all formal partners of the network, and we have helped develop, launch, and support the employees and employers that are within the network. So we're just really excited to have you here today. I'm also a small business owner. My husband and I, Hidden Acres Property Management. We launched a small business a couple of years ago, and I can share personally, I have lived in Washington County my entire life. I am also a person in recovery and have navigated recovery systems here within the community. And David, thank you for just lifting up our connection over the years. And I will speak on behalf of my husband, Brian, because he would share it if he were here, that his pathway to sustained recovery was through an opportunity with employment, and that was at Whitney's. Someone gave him a chance, and he, to this day, David, talks about that opportunity to have that chance for employment and how that really changed his recovery path. So I want to talk to you all a little bit. I think I got spotlighted for a minute and then I got on and got off. You can go ahead if you need my face spotlighted, I'm happy to do that. Whatever works best for everyone. But I want to share a little bit about what it means to be a recovery friendly workplace. And as we go in, I'll share a bit. We'll hear from workplaces that are currently in the network, and we'll have an opportunity to have some good Q&A and just have some really great, robust dialogue about what that means. We want to break any myths because certainly what we might believe is a recovery-friendly workplace, one of the things even I have learned is that workplaces are so diverse and unique across our county. Even starting this conversation, we were saying just how it's almost a part of our culture here within Washington County that we might have work for an employer, but also run a small business, or we might work for a couple of employers, or we have our family business, right? We dip our toes into other workplaces or work opportunities. But at the heart of it, really understanding that being recovery friendly is really making a commitment to say that our workplace will really deepen our understanding and what it means to support our communities, our employees, and our workplace culture, not only to support physical safety, psychological safety, but also understand that recovery is included in that. One of the things throughout the time of working with this team that we've recognized is that being recovery friendly looks different across all sectors, and we'll share a little bit about what that means. But workplaces are unique in Washington County, and that's why we wanted to take an opportunity to specifically target small workplaces and have this conversation today. One of the things that we recognize is that for some of us, our workplace is our kitchen table or our home office. For others, it might be our vehicle. Maybe I'm a realtor and I'm working out in the community. For many in Washington County, their workplace is on the back of a fishing vessel. So workplaces look vastly different. And being a member of the Recovery Friendly Workplace Network does not mean that you need to have a formal certain number of employees or an HR department or a robust list of policies. It really means that you're ready and willing to have a commitment to support recovery wellness in your workplace. One of the things that is of such value to us in the network is the ways in which we support our workplaces, and we really think about the needs and the unique needs of each workplace. So I shared with you a little bit about the partners that are within the network, and Dodie will talk a little bit further on about all of the network members, the over 20 businesses across Washington County that have become designated as a Washington County recovery-friendly workplace. Recognizing, I want to pause there because we recognize that so many other workplaces are doing the work. David shared, right? That how Whitney's is recovery friendly. Elaine, you shared how part of your mission is to hire and support individuals in recovery. Those, those components alone make you a recovery friendly workplace. We also recognize, as we've talked to workplaces and as we were designing this program, that many of you were working really in an isolated way. And maybe you yourself had navigated recovery, or maybe not. Maybe you had a loved one that had experienced it, but you were a workplace that was navigating this within your workplace and not maybe having all of the resources across the community. Or maybe you were connected or are connected. David talked about a lot of those. And so our mission has certainly been to support workplaces in a variety of platforms. That's through connections to resources, really helping workplaces have a deep understanding of substance use and its continuum in the workplace. Sometimes when we think about recovery, we think about individuals that have had severe and chronic alcohol use or substance use disorder. But we know alcohol or prescribed medications or other substances, cannabis, they can become problematic in the workplace too. It might not be severe. It might show up in different ways. It might show up in the workplace in different ways. But we recognize and we like to educate workplaces on really understanding that there's a continuum of how substance use may impact an individual. It may impact their family, thus impacting them. It may impact them because a coworker is experiencing it. And we've always found through our discussions with businesses in Washington County that everyone in some way, shape, or form has had a touch, right, or a connection. Losses in our community, whether we've known individuals or not, or known their families, that radiates. So again, we all just recognize that we've really had a connection. And so going back to within the Recovery Friendly Workplace Network, Dodie being our business advisor, myself as being a social worker and having a rich background in substance use response and a connector to resources, training, and information. We work with workplaces to provide you with, when needed, information on resources. We can help support policy development if you would like. There's nothing that's required. We tell workplaces we don't require you to update policies, but we'll ask you about what policies or practices might be in place. And if you would like some review of those or some assistance, we like to support linkage to workplaces to experts in different arenas, whether that's around insurance or business law or deepening an understanding on employee assistance programs, also known as EAP. How can we support connection to that? If internally that's not an area of expertise for Dodie or I, let us help you make that connection. And how might you just show up in your community? We know that many businesses show up to support a variety of different efforts that you believe in, and that may be around efforts that focus on youth or physical wellness or resilience. And so we invite businesses to show up with our recovery-centered events too, our recovery walks, maybe posting information and flyers in your break room about recovery resources, just as you would around how to lift with your knees and not with your back, right? Like, how are you also just providing information for everyone without someone having to come to you to say, I really could use this information. We've had some businesses during our time of working together say, I don't know if I've ever interacted with an employee that is impacted by substance use disorder. I don't know how I, as a workplace, may show up to be recovery friendly. And we always like to explore, what are you already doing? Just through your introductions of saying, I want to learn more, that in itself shows us that you're interested in making a commitment and educating yourselves as the business owner or manager to be able to bring that within your business. But I want to share a story that really resonated with me when we were in the very early stages of planning this work. And it was a business within the financial industry. And they said, I'm not sure how we're recovery friendly or how we would be recovery friendly. There's some institutions that worry because there might be parameters around certain hiring practices, individuals so that may have a criminal record. We can't hire. How might that look? And I've said, I want to just hear some stories about your experience with recovery in the community or interacting with families. And the person went on to tell me, or tell us during our planning stages of this, of how they had an employee that had a child, an adult child that was navigating the early stages of seeking recovery from substance use, and how that business really looked at that situation as any other situation in which a parent may need to take a short-term leave to support a child that needed medical care. And that business provided the individual quickly with a week time off to be able to attend to caring for their adult child or getting their adult child the support that they needed. And in that moment, I said, what a beautiful example of being recovery friendly. And they were like, wow, I didn't even realize because we just do it, because we care about our employees. So whether their adult child had complications from a surgery and needed to be cared for, or they're seeking treatment for a substance use disorder, they, the employee needed the time off to be able to care for them. So I share that you'll hear many stories of how recovery friendly is incorporated within the workplace. But that to me just stuck out because that banking institution hadn't realized that they were recovery friendly, that they were communicating to that employee that we see you, we care about you, and we're here to support you, regardless of what has led to you needing to take this time off. So those are just some examples. I also just want to share before we open it up to the panel that the Washington County Recovery Friendly Workplace Network is so unique. We are the only individual network of its kind in the state of Maine, and we have a robust network. The state of Maine has a statewide recovery friendly workplace network in which they're located down in southern Maine. They support businesses across the entire state through virtual connection, linkage to resources, providing them with training. What we love about our Washington County network is we're place-based, we're grassroots, we're showing up in your print shop, we're showing up at the boat shop, we're showing up at the wharf. We show up for our community businesses like we would for our neighbors. We have and continue to work in partnership with the state team, which is really beautiful because sometimes we say we are seeking information or resources that we might not have in Washington County, or how are you guys navigating these examples or challenges across the state? And so we work closely with them, and they designate all of our Washington County businesses as a statewide recovery friendly workplace as well. So you're designated both as a Washington County recovery friendly and the state of Maine, which allows you to post your job listings on their statewide job board and allows you to have access to the state team as well. We also have worked closely and remain within a national recovery friendly initiative. So we have access to there's currently over 36 states that have statewide initiatives, really helping employers navigate the complex challenges that you may face in your workplace, or just finding unique ways to support recovery in your workplace. And so we lean into our national partners as well when needed, just to find the innovative ways that they're doing things. So that's a bit about the work of the Washington County Recovery Friendly Workplace. I think the thing we're proudest of is we're doing this with partners. I listed those 5 partners that all have expertise in their respective areas. We're very place-based and we're grassroots. We cooked this from the ground up just a handful of years ago after we were hearing from workplaces about the role that you play and really recognizing that you're a critical part of the overall recovery ecosystem here in Washington County. With that, Dodie is going to welcome three of our guests today that are part of the Recovery Friendly Workplace, that are small business owners, entrepreneurs, sole proprietors, and are finding really unique ways in which they are incorporating recovery friendly practices into their workplace. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you, Abby. That was great. Um, so one of the reasons we wanted to include a panel today is because recovery friendly does look different in every workplace, and it's especially true for entrepreneurs and small businesses. And today we're super excited to be joined by a few of our local business owners who have so generously agreed to share honestly about how this shows up in their work. So we have Matthew Dana from Quoddy Spray Foam, Ashley Dhakal from AHD Design, and Rafi Hopkins. I gave you a W, Rafi, from Section Sign LLC. Each of them brings a different business model and experience, and that variety was really intentional for today when we went through and said, who should we have? We invited them because hearing how it shows up in real small businesses often help people decide whether or not the network feels right for them. Again, this is not a polished presentation or a set of best practices. It's conversation, real experiences, human experiences. How this will work is I'll ask a few guiding questions and panelists can jump in where it feels natural for them. They won't answer every question, and we want this to be a dialogue, and the conversation may shift as we go, and that's okay. That flexibility is very intentional. And as Denise had mentioned in the chat, please feel free to reflect or ask any questions along the way. But before we jump into the questions, I'm going to ask each of our panelists to give a brief introduction of themselves. Tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, how big your team is, if you have one. Um, so Matt, I'll put you in the spotlight.
Sure. I'm Matt Dana. I own, uh, as a partner, me and my brother own Quoddy Spray Foam. It's a spray foam insulation company here in Indian Township. We travel all over the state to do spray foam insulation. I'm not sure what else you're looking for. Business. So there's
Yeah.
myself and my brother who own the business. We have a number of contractors that come in and help us do application, do some estimates. We have a individual contractor that does our bookkeeping and payroll services. So we don't technically have employees, but we have a few people that come in and help us.
Awesome. Thank you. And Ashley.
Hey everyone, my name's Ashley Dhakal, and I am a sole proprietor, and my business is AHD Design. Um, so this is something I started off as a freelancer and then sort of formalized it somewhere around the early 2010s. And it was great. It was very flexible to set it up that way. So I remained as a business of one, but I often collaborated with other people. Rafi is someone that I collaborated with many times on projects. Primarily, I helped businesses, many mostly small businesses, and nonprofit organizations as they were really at any stages, but most often they were just getting started. They didn't have, a logo, a website, any kind of marketing copy or anything. So my process was really to sit with them and understand what their goals were, what kind of business they wanted to build, and help them with the visual elements of that. So I mostly had been working in Washington County. Now I'm working full time with Sunrise County Economic Council in their small business and entrepreneurship division, but I still take on some projects on the side. And because it's close to my heart, I probably won't ever officially shut down AHD Design. But that's sort of the state of things today.
Awesome. Thank you. And Rafi?
Hi, everyone. I already gave a brief introduction, but I'm Rafi Hopkins. I own a business called Section Sign LLC, which, similar to Ashley, started as a freelancer. And around the same time, about 2012, I formed an LLC. I'm a sole proprietor. I do work with a number of collaborators. Ashley and I used to work together on a number of projects before she joined SCEC. I work with designers, video editors, folks that do research and data analysis. And yeah, I initially was so excited to hear about the Recovery Friendly Workplace Network here and thought that sounds great. I'm so glad that's happening. But I didn't think it could apply to my business because I'm a one person team. And I was really delighted to talk with Abby and Dodie about RFW and to find out that even a small business of one can be a part of the network and can be an impactful part of the network. I thought of RFW through a pretty narrow lens initially, like it was something for workplaces that have employees that are maybe struggling with substance use disorder. And so through conversations with Dodie and Abby, really came to understand that just as recovery can look very different and take many different forms, so can a recovery-friendly workplace. So that was eye-opening, and I'm so pleased to be a part of the network and really grateful to be getting the support in the form of one-to-one or one-to-many relationships like these conversations, but also the newsletter and the resources that come through via email and events. Though I haven't attended an event yet, I'm very excited to attend RFW events. And one of the things that really made an impression on me was how important the role of destigmatization is in this space. I think it's people that are in recovery, whether it's from substance use, alcoholism. There's so many different pains and traumas in life that can make a person feel like they've gotten knocked off course or set back. And that can look like so many different things, whether or not it has to do with substance use. And the idea that we are humans doing business, but meeting other people as humans, as people, and as full people, not just as workers, but as human beings that are showing up and doing their best. I think it's so important to just stay in touch with the humanist spirit of the Recovery Friendly Workplace Network. So for me, that's a really important part of who I am and who my business is. And there's a real resonance with RFW Network in terms of just being humanist. So that part feels really meaningful to me to be able to bring that kind of awareness to the people I work with, my collaborators and my clients, and then in the community, when I'm in the community and talking with friends, family, community members. There's a lot of work that we can do as individuals, even if we don't have employees.
Thank you, Rafi. And I'm so glad that you mentioned all of that. It brought me back to a meeting I was having with a board of a workplace, and a couple were saying, and I didn't even have to speak. Someone else took over for me. One person was like, "Well, I don't think we have anybody on staff that would be struggling with anything like this, or they couldn't. We have to pass a background check, da da da. And someone else said, "But my brother is suffering with alcoholism, and now I know I can help them." So the affected others is really, really important to our work too. So I'm really glad that you brought that up, Rafi. Thank you. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with some questions. As you listen, we invite you to just notice what feels realistic for your workplace, what feels possible, what maybe you're already doing. Because really, being recovery friendly shows up more in everyday choices and values than in our formal policies.
Mhm.
So our first question, and Rafi, you touched base on this a little bit on yours. What did being recovery friendly mean to you when you first heard about it? And how has your understanding changed since joining? And feel free to jump in.
I'll jump in. So recovery friendly really started before I had this business in my former life. And I forgot to mention in my introduction, I currently work full time for SCEC as the Working Communities Challenge Partnership Director. Before I took that position, like I said, my former life, I was in law enforcement for the Pasquarty Tribe in Indian Township and had done that 21 plus years when I got done. And there was a pilot that the Pasquarty Tribe in Indian Township was administering for workforce recovery friendly workforce and placing interns in spaces there so that there's some employment opportunities at no cost to the departments. So we had a meeting at Indian Township Tribal Government, and as the chief of police, I was asked to attend. And at first, going into it, I really thought like how I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. I run a police department. How can I be helpful to anybody in that way? There's a lot of background checks and just kind of really not thinking that I would be beneficial. As I got into the meeting, really heard what they were saying and really thought about our needs at the department. And I just kind of broke it down and made it simple. And we really needed somebody to come in and do some custodial work. I said, you know what? Let's start there. Do you have somebody that come in and can do some custodial work? Was able to find somebody that was willing to come in and do that. Um, and then I really thought about and met with the administration of the program at the time. And I'm like, and Rafi touched on it. I really wanted to break those stigmas of addiction within the department, officers, dispatchers. So I'm like, what type of training can I have for my staff that can support this intern coming in and creating an opportunity that's beneficial for all of us. So we were able to have and really thinking about safety for the intern coming in. It was an adult, and they were really coming in to clean, and sometimes could be bodily fluids, and like what type of training can you give them so that if they have to clean a cruiser that's maybe got blood in it or what have you, how can we be beneficial to each other? So we created those trainings. So make a long story short, it really helped break down a lot of stigma for officers and the dispatchers. Really brought a face to the department where we're used to dealing and arresting people in these situations and brought them and made them human to the officers. Um, so long story short, again, that we this individual was really did a really great job. It really supported them through their recovery, gave them a sense of hope to, had an employment opportunity. They were paid interns. Um, they were able to really work on themselves and made this an opportunity. They found another position at the Indian Township School and that they wanted to apply for. There was a custodial position, ask for a recommendation letter. And I was so happy to do that. They ended up getting the job. They currently still work there, but have has advanced through the school system. Started off as a custodian and now has their ed tech certificate and is working in the classrooms with students. So I see the benefits of creating that opportunity, creating those, taking down those stigmas, and really moving forward, and treating them as human people and individuals that, because I've seen it in the community. I've dealt with it in family, parents, siblings that are in recovery or active addiction now. So I know how important it is, and I've seen people dehumanized because of those issues. And I really, being the person that I am and the person I grew up with, that we're all people, regardless of what's going on. So I really wanted to move that forward. And when I was asked and heard about the watch this recovery, workforce friendly recovery program, I wanted to jump right in because of that experience at Indian Township. And I wanted to make Quoddy Spray Foam, like I want to get in there as soon as I can. I want to be one of the first.
And
So
you were.
yeah. So and I know the benefits of it. And I thought at the time, well, really don't have employees, but we have some individual contractors. Those are just legal terms. Like we didn't take taxes out for them. So that's basically it. And we give them a 1099. Thought really knew them as friends and family members, and really like I'm not gonna have that um issue here. Comes to find out, I did. And then having, knowing what we had gone through, having the opportunity to meet with Abby at the time, and really understanding how I can be of support, was able to help one of these people that helped me and move through their addiction and their substance abuse with alcohol, and have been a great support getting them through that, and then standing them up on the other side and being there, and having to cut a tie, like really can't come to work like this, and having to let them go, but also being a support and help standing them up after their treatment. So that experience has been really mind eye-opening, and really appreciate the support and knowledge that I was given here in this uh, program.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, I'll jump in next. For me, when I first heard about the RFW network, I didn't, like others have said, I didn't think it would apply to my business because I'm a business of one. But then I started to think about it and how having any kind of business, it's really a platform, and it's a different kind of platform than an individual platform. um, and how it was really an opportunity for me to engage in this movement that's been happening for a really long time. I mean, I remember in 2000, when I was in 10th grade and graduating in 2002, that was, as far as I could tell, the peak or getting to the peak of the opioid crisis in this area. And I graduated from Calais High School. And so I saw many friends and later family members and coworkers struggle with addiction. And so, I mean, it still feels like we're in that crisis, although it's evolved and changed. But I realized that I never really had a chance, besides just reacting to my family and friends' needs at the time. I never really had the chance to publicly state my support for this movement, and to support people in recovery in a bigger way. And so for me, it was a real privilege to be able to use my platform as a business owner to show that support publicly. Because I think when we talk about stigma, it is about standing up in a public way. Um, and, sometimes it's easier to do that as a business. It doesn't feel quite as personal. Maybe you can say it has to do with your policies or whatnot. But I think that's really important. The other piece of that is becoming a recovery-friendly workplace allowed me to put my own values first, in terms of what my company and what I stand for. So, as I mentioned before, when I worked with small businesses and organizations, they often shared a lot, because I needed to know, what made you want to create this business, where are you from? Like, you just start talking to people and things, they start telling their story. And I wanted them to know that they could trust me with those details, that I, not share them, and I was using them just to create the materials needed for their business. Um, but if I could have had a badge, like the RFW badge that said, this is a place where you can trust, this is a place where you can share. We don't have those, right? But we do have an RFW badge that we can put out there. And I think that is a signal for a lot as well. I think that's a signal to show that it's a safe space to talk about things that might not be ideal. Maybe you're justice involved, and you're, now having a fresh start, and that's part of your story, and that's an important part of the story as we think about marketing, because actually that is a unique thing. So knowing that when you're working with a designer, um, who would you rather talk to? Someone that you don't know anything about them at all, or someone who has that RFW badge front and center on their website, and you think, oh, that signals to me that they are looking at the whole person. They're probably willing to not, they're probably not going to judge me as I'm sharing my story. And they're interested in creating a safe space for me to share. So, so that's kind of from what I thought it was at first to what I learned it could be. So I hope that answered that question.
That was awesome. Thank you very much. Um, so the next question I have is, what does being recovery friendly look like in a small business or business of one? Which you kind of already touched on it, but if there's anything more you'd like to add to that question, that's great. And if not, we'll go to the next one.
One thing that comes to mind for me is the certificate of being in the network. And we don't have an office space, but I have a rig that's mobile that all my contractors are in and you working in, and I've placed that in there, and that has started conversation. Just seeing that and knowing, I don't let general public in there just because of the equipment that's can be very sensitive, but just having that displayed, not only on social media, but a physical certificate that quote unquote employees see is very important. And it's really started that conversation. And I think it helped with that individual that was struggling and really thought about how we can, although we don't have policies per se, it was practices that we created within the business.
I love that example. It actually made me think of a business that I work with who has trucking, and they own a fleet of trucks, and they wanted the decals for every single one of them. So it's on their bumper. Everywhere they go, from Beals to Boston, people are seeing that. So that's pretty cool. Thanks for bringing that up, Matt. Ashley or Rafi, do you have anything to add to that question?
Think I'll add something around language.
Hmm.
I found the
Mm.
language guide that you added or shared via email recently to be really helpful. It's such an important and sometimes subtle part of the way we exist in the world, the language that we use,
Mhm.
and to to get a little insight into the way language um, really conveys meaning, and it sometimes negatively and sometimes positively. That was something that I've been aware of, but it was really nice to have a
Mhm.
a guide that I could look at and to have instead of this language, consider this. That was very helpful for me. And then just kind of connecting to some of the things that Ashley and Matt have already said. Um, I was just thinking about the way that the ways that our culture and that we as individuals can kind of be afraid of people that are in recovery, or we might see subtle signs that someone might be struggling with opiate use or alcohol use, and there's a protective mechanism in our brains that says, okay, if we see something that seems like it might be different or dangerous, we need to be on guard, and it engages our fear, and that tends to lead to othering, well, that's a person that we need to be careful of. And I think the combination of the awareness that comes with the training that is provided with the RFW network is really impactful. And I think it also is just a really good reminder that it's never okay to write someone off because of some judgment that we've made, and to really try to remain open to, again, not to repeat myself too much, but to the fact that we're all human beings that deserve respect and decency, and I think that's really important. So yeah, and then Ashley, I really like what you said about values and kind of signaling our values. The badge, the stickers, the decals. That is really a way to put our values out there. And Matt, what you're saying about the certificate being in your rig, like that's a conversation starter. It's a signal, and anything we can do to signal that openness instead of fear or closed, and to foster conversations and communication instead of shutting down, shutting off, disconnection. Those things are so important. And yeah, I think that summarizes my thoughts on that question.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank
just
you.
Yeah,
have
I
a
think.
couple. Oh, go. You go
Yeah.
ahead.
I just wanted to just add a little bit more to Rafi just said that conversation starter made it easier for the employee to come and say, hey, I have an issue, I have a problem. And it allowed us that dialogue to have already happened, that we are open and here to support that. And they weren't afraid to come to us with that, and was not afraid of judgment.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Ashley.
Yeah, I think getting back to the badge, I think putting the badge out there, if you have a physical location and it's there like on a door or a window, or it's on your Facebook page or your website, um, you know, people seeing that, maybe they're just coming to you, to get insulation or something like that, Matt, but then they see that and they go to the website and maybe they're also looking for a job. And so that gives them the chance to see what other groups are hiring. So I'm kind of thinking of this as a secondary level. So this could be an interaction a person has on an everyday level with a recovery-friendly workplace themselves, but then that leads them to the website, which could potentially lead them to a new job with one of the other employers on the website based on their experience. And so I think one of the things that came up as I was thinking about this session was the difficulty of hiring, and the turnover that happens when people aren't fully supported, and how expensive turnover is. And so some people, they might not apply to a job because of the fear of stigma, but seeing all of those company icons on the website, all the logos, they feel like, okay, all of these companies are recovery friendly, so stigma is not going to be an issue. So it can help them, with finding a job that, as we know, having a job and having purpose, having that financial stability can be a huge part of recovery as well. So I think there's a secondary nature to it as well, in terms of what it looks like on a day-to-day. And I think the last thing to share for that question was just how it shows up every day. I have found since being part of the network that when I'm having conversations with people, we've talked a lot about today, I've heard the word human come up. I guess in contrast to the word employee or worker. and the difference, of course, is that human is a much more broad picture of who we all are. But since joining the network, I feel like my conversations with people that I work with, partner with, really anyone, I'm thinking of them and thinking about what they might be struggling with or um, having behind the scenes, all the other things that are going on. And I think this is especially true in professional settings because we do try to put on a professional face, but everybody has a lot going on behind the scenes. And so it's made me more sensitive to those things and to understand also that if someone's not performing well at their job one day, it's not because they don't care or they want to, make another person angry. It may be that there's just something going on. And so I think a larger part of the takeaway from being a member in this network is to see the humanness in all the people that we work with and to be a bit more empathetic in terms of what they might be going through.
Love
Thank you,
that,
Ashley.
Ashley. Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes me think in terms of the general topic of awareness. And like Ashley, you're talking about, and Matt, about the awareness of recovery friendly practices in a workplace and how that can lead to awareness of the network and awareness of the other members in the network and job opportunities and the kind of the economic awareness level, but then the personal awareness level, like you're talking about, Ashley, in terms of really thinking about the people as full humans that are trying to do their best, and it makes me reflect on how there's this personal awareness component too that I was really grateful to David for sharing in his introduction some of his personal story. And so many of us have these personal stories, and the more brave we're willing to be to share those stories and to be open, the more it reduces those barriers and helps people feel less shame, less stigma, to know that your boss or employer is in recovery. What that does to a person's sense of themselves, and oh hey, they're in recovery, so am I. Like, okay, we're all in the same boat here. I think it really reduces the barriers, reduces the stigma. And so many of us have personal stories, whether it's our own or a family member or friends. I could really relate to what you're saying, Ashley, about graduating from a local school and just seeing the number of friends and colleagues who have struggled with substance use. It's prevalent in our little community, and yeah, being able to just be brave and open and let people know that they're not alone. They don't have to feel shame. That's huge. I think that can really, that can really be transformative in a way that when you feel isolated and alone and full of shame, it's really hard to move forward, to connect, to feel like there are possibilities. And the more we can remove that, the more open people feel, and the potential for forward motion is increased. So just the bravery that David and others have shown around telling their own stories and being open, I think is another way that we as recovery friendly network, workplace network members can show up, that isn't necessarily the most obvious, but is so important. That's really top of mind for me.
Awesome. Thank you all so very much for your honesty and your openness. This has been really great. So I hope everyone has heard that being recovery friendly doesn't mean perfect or complicated. Hopefully, we've all heard that it's about intention, about culture, about support, about humans, about awareness. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go live on our webpage and kind of walk you through that.
Yes, we are.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. So this is the Washington County Recovery Friendly Workplace Network website. Um, there are different links across the top that kind of tell us a little bit about what the network is, who the members are, recovery resources, and then become a member. We have a really cool, and thanks to, I can't remember who, but who someone shouted out on the newsletter, which is really exciting. It just started last June, and we do a monthly newsletter with just some kind of a shout out to our recovery friendly workplaces usually, and then some trainings that might be coming up, people might be interested in, any resources people might be interested in, and just really touching base on those recovery related topics. So I'm just really quickly going to go over this with you. If you have a question, just pop it in the chat or stop me. Actually, just stop me, and because it'll be easier just to do it while we're there, I think. So we've talked a lot about what all of this is throughout today. So, but I just want to show you where it is. If you scroll down, you can see some of our network members. And so any member that joins has their logo with a link to their website right on the web page. So it can draw that traffic to your workplace. And also, this is replicated on the State of Maine Recovery Friendly Workplace Network page as well, initiative page as well. This is super cool. This is Trudy. She's my friend and she works at AC Inc. And something really cool is they have Narcan at the wharf for free, no questions asked, in a bin so that boats, when they come in, they can grab them if they need them. And this is her holding up the Narcan here sign on the wharf. Some of the benefits of Recovery Friendly Network, there are employee retention is a big one. There's work opportunity tax credits. There's federal bonding programs, all that stuff that I can help get you connected to. Just about how we make a difference and then how we are Washington County focused. We do have some pretty cool quotes from some of our current workplaces on here as well. And then way down here at the bottom, or if you click that button up top, it'll bring you down here. This is where you can submit a letter of interest. This is also where you can sign up for the newsletter if you haven't done so already. And if you want to kind of get a sample of what it looks like, there are our back archived editions on here as well. And then down here, there's links to our partners that Abby had mentioned that will take you to their website so you can learn more about what they do in their organizations too. So before we go into the letter of interest, I also want to do a highlight of our recovery resources link, which is right here. And this is housed by the Connection Initiative, which is a super cool, think 211 only, Washington County, an actual person, and a bunch of community resource partners working together to help find and support the needs of the people that we work with and serve in our neighbors in our communities. And so we do have a really cool Washington County Recovery Resources page where you can go on, you can select a category. So maybe you have somebody who's interested in grief support. You can see what resources we have here locally that may be of help to your employees, your workplace, your families, friends, community. I'll let you check that out on your own pace. And then gonna come down here again to the letter of interest. I just want to show you what that looks like. And you just fill in the name of your business, put in your website, what kind of industry, employees if you have any, contact name, title, all this stuff here. And this is optional if you want to include your logo, because when you are designated, you will get a social badge with your logo on it. Plus, that's what's used to go onto the websites to link to your pages. And then this just is an agreement that you're interested in the process and you'd like to move forward. Then let's see. I know I'm going a little bit fast because our time is getting away from me. So if I'm going too fast, let me know.
I think one of the things that I always like to lift up with a letter of interest is it can be done quickly and easily, and it's not a commitment yet. So
Right.
it's just like a foot in the door. Like you guys coming to the event today, it's a foot in the door. Clearly, you have at least some curiosity around it, and the letter of interest provides an opportunity to have a one-on-one connection with Dodie, to really talk through what it looks like for your workplace. So low barrier, really low barrier, just to fill that out and get that information in. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then once that's done, I'm hoping that this will open on the same page. Did a commitment form just pop up?
Sure
Yay!
do. Yep.
So once I receive a letter of interest from a workplace, we set up a time that's convenient for that workplace, either in person, by Zoom, whatever works for you is what we do. And then we just go over this commitment form. And what it does is it just outlines our commitment to you as a network. So advising, support, information, resources and connections, network and recognition, visibility. And then down here, this is the new member commitment. Your information will go there. And then it's submitting a letter of interest, meeting with me, doing this form, signing that form, and then making an internal announcement. And what that is just formally informing current new employees or the people you work with, your consultants, that you are joining the network. And then there is continuous learning. We have two 90-minute sessions, or one is substance use in the workplace, and the other is promoting workplace wellness and safety, that are really, really good trainings that Abby will do. And those, again, are very customized to your workplace. Maybe you've already had Narcan training and you have Narcan in your workplace. That part will not need to be done again, you know. So, and again, that can be virtual, that can be in person. We ask that you will maintain a relationship with us and use us. That's what we're here for. Promote that well-being, engage in the community of the network. We do try to offer some different development and enrichment events annually, and we would love to have you do that. And then impact measurements, you'll get a survey at 1 year in. Just help us improve, help us to know what's working, what you like, what you don't like, good, bad, ugly. We want it all, because we want this to be as user-friendly and the best program that it can be. So these are a couple of announcements. This is just kind of a standard, just give you an idea of what it could look like if you have employees and you want to cut, paste, plug in your name there and email that to your staff. There's your announcement done. Or maybe you have an employee newsletter. This is an example of a newsletter that a submission to a newsletter that one of our recovery-friendly workplaces used, and really highlighted that they were in this new wellness partnership to their employees, and letting them know about the resources available for them. And then down here, you have your choice. You can say yes or no to use any quotes from you for our marketing, or any photos from any events, if yes or no, if you want to do that. And then whoever has the official ability to sign for your workplace and date, and then myself and date, and then that's done. So those are the steps, and then you're officially designated.